There we go. Is that better?
Now we're going.
Okay. Glitch on my side. I apologize. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first ARES meeting for San Diego and Imperial for the year of 2022. I was previously saying on mute that I was recalling the last time that we had all had this particular meeting in person, and that was 2 years ago. So this is the third running of the EC Roundtable, where we're going to break off into groups, do specific regional and area-based tactics, improvement goals, maybe even personalized drills for the area, the region, things like that, because we've got San Diego and Imperial County, and while we're neighbors and next door, to each other, dramatic differences in population, the types of area that we're in, things like that. So it gives us interesting dynamics. We have a very large swatch of land to cover here in the lower part of California, and the diversity between the two regions is very significant. So lots of opportunities to go out and plan for events, real life interactions, drills, peering with each other's DECs and ECs, as well as leadership, and even amongst the membership locally. So we'll get further into that as we get into the meeting. So this will be our third year doing that specific exercise, and it'll be the second time that we've done it remotely. We'll be doing that in Teams, or not Teams, but Zoom breakout rooms rather, for this meeting. Before we go out and get too far into this, the typical decorum is that I will ask everyone, if they're able to stand, please. Just like we were doing this in real life, because we are doing this in real life, just remotely. Remove your cover and we can do the Pledge of Allegiance, please, if you are able to do so. If everyone's ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, folks. All right, next up on the normal welcome and greeting list in the morning, any new visitors, any new hams, any people that are here for the first time trying to learn about what ARES is, this would be the right time to sound off, say hello, tell us who you are, tell us why you're interested, even your level of expertise, things like that, why we're here doing this. If you're new, first time here, new member, you can raise your hand in the chat log, in the chat part. I'll start looking at the chat.
No hands yet. We should have a couple of new people here.
And
or they can just start talking or waving, right?
Right. And if it turns out that we're a little late in the game, we can come back and do that again really quick at the end.
Oh, there's a hand.
Ted, good morning. Unmute yourself, Ted.
There good morning. Second meeting live. I've watched a few on YouTube. I am a relatively new technician from October, I think, and maybe November. Anyway, I've certainly appreciated all the help I've gotten from everybody over the radio and the IO groups. It's been fantastic. I have a couple of new topics on there, if you haven't seen them, regarding communicating with Mac and the various applications and programming radios and all that. So any help is appreciated there. KN6RCZ Ted from SDSU area normally.
Thanks, Ted. Appreciate it. Thanks for being on board. Anyone else in the wings, waiting, gun shy? Don't be gun shy. All right, we'll move on. Maybe I'll do a quick loop at the end. Dave, if you're ready, any section related, ARRL related, and I know there are a handful of them out there, I'll let you either pick, choose what you think is most relevant and I might ask a question or two, or some of the other folks might answer regarding some of the new leadership at the ARRL headquarters.
All right, the ARRL has just hired a new director of emergency management. His name is Josh Johnson, KE5MHV, and he will be working from Newington. Sort of waiting to see what he has in mind for any changes in the ARES program or anything else. The program we have here works extremely well for our served agencies. So I do not foresee any major changes in our direction. There may be some additional things we might want to do, but the program is working very well, and our served agencies seem to be asking for us. So that's a good thing, and they ask us to do presentations and so on, and Bruce and I have done several. Only other thing is we have the activity day coming up next Saturday, and then followed by the VHF contest. So some good things coming up on that end. Jay has an announcement about the Yuma Hamfest, though, that should be interesting here this morning. Go ahead, Jay. You're muted.
There we go. Now I can press a button, amazingly. Good morning to the group. Thanks very much for allowing me to make this announcement. I talked to Jeff Weeks, W7JLW, last night actually, and he expressed to me a sincere and urgent need for volunteers. Their pool of volunteers is not the same as it has been in past Hamfests, and he expressed concern that they would not be able to complete the mission, so to speak, with the volunteers they have now. They need about 5 to 10 of them. I am one, so I guess that would make it 4 to 9 volunteers would be needed. And some of the areas that he said that they would need assistance in, the country store, admission, being a proctor for the speaker seminar rooms. And if you're interested, they also need some help on Thursday afternoon with the RV and vendor onboarding. I guess that is a challenge for them. Again, his name's Jeff Weeks, W7JLW. Feel free to contact me if you think you can do it. One of the ways that I suggest to be less intrusive as a volunteer is if you're going for the whole day, volunteer for half the day and then attend the other half. And especially if you get lucky like I did last year and you're a proctor for a speaking room where you would have gone anyway, then you're helping with minimal cost to yourself. But this is a regional event, and they put a lot of work into it. Obviously, they're all volunteers, but they are in desperate need. Desperate may be a little overselling it, but they are in sincere and urgent need of additional volunteers. Like I said, 5 to 10 volunteers. We're going to try and come up with at least 3 here in Imperial County. And I would want to make a plea to this group. If you're attending and can insert some volunteer time into your schedule, then you can contact me or Mr. Weeks. That's the announcement. And just wanted to express my sense of loss for my good friend, Tim, N6CUX. He will be missed. And that's it for me, and KM6NUY.
Thanks, Jay. Back to Dave.
All right, thanks, Bruce. Back to you.
Okay. We'll talk about Tim in a moment. I was going to bring that up before we close the beginning of the meeting. I feel obligated in this particular case with a call for volunteers to remind folks that we are, as I understand it from my sources, which are close to healthcare, as some of you might understand, we're in a really awkward place right now. There is a There's a lot of misinformation and a lot of overlapping information and layers of it out there regarding what's happening currently with COVID in the community and what's happening with treatments, getting tests, getting things done, and risk factors in general. I have to be really honest with you. I would be expressing concern for folks, even though it's an outdoor activity for a lot of what the Hamfest is, in having folks go with Omicron out there. The current variant that they're looking at right now, and there are other ones that have come up since Omicron, you're just not hearing about them yet. Omicron is incredibly effective at getting people sick. It is not going to be blocked by a cloth mask. It's not going to be blocked by a cloth mask with a little filter insert put in it. You know, the best of all worlds is that wearing that mask yourself, if you have the virus, is going to help prevent other folks from getting sick if you sneeze, if you cough, and if you're expressing large amounts of particulate matter in the form of vapor or water or other things that might come out of your mouth or nose. The catch-22 is that you could be eventually, you know, expressing the virus through just breathing it out and in close contact with other people. Close contact, they're saying 6 feet or less. I'm going to say that's probably pretty reasonable. The good part about Omicron is that for most people, you're either going to be relatively asymptomatic, you're not going to show signs of being sick, or you're going to have something that resembles very much the common cold. I will politely share with you, even though it's a HIPAA thing, I will politely share with you that my entire family got hit with this pretty rapidly, almost all at the same time. And it wasn't fun, but it was very brief. If you're in the age group that I'm in, and I know some of you are, and some of you might be beyond just slightly the age group that I'm in, I got to be honest, it wasn't a fun thing to go through. But for me, it was about a 24-hour window where it was really, really horrible. I mean, beyond anything I've ever had for a cold before in my life for 24 hours. And then after that, it's been increasing day by day and getting better. I'm probably back to about 90-95% right now. But it was god awful for the first, 24 to 48. I honestly don't know that I would go out and do an event right now with this thing spreading and with it as in population. If I had to tell you what I think is going to happen, very honestly, to me, this is like a motorcycle cop, and I've known lots of them over the years. They always used to joke about there only being 2 different kinds of motorcycle cops: those that have crashed and those that will crash. There's not an if, and there's never a no. You're going to get COVID at some point. It's going to happen. If you had to go out and pick your flavor of COVID to get, this is the one that you want. The interesting challenge on this is, regardless of which vaccine pathway you've taken and which vaccine pathway boosters you've followed up with, Omicron seems to be cutting right through it. It doesn't matter. Omicron doesn't care. That just seems to be the way the statistics have been very, very strong in developing. So you could be fully immunized. You might have even had COVID before, because a lot of the folks that are ranking up on the tally board are having that, and Omicron is right there. So the good news apparently is that if you have Omicron, you do have some coverage for Delta, if not really good coverage for Delta, which is really bad compared to Omicron. So this is a big mixed bag thing, but I guess where I'm going is I hear the plea for help, and I appreciate that, but I'm also thinking at the same time that if they have a whole bunch of people that suddenly get sick and they're at the Yuma Hamfest, what's that going to mean for other events and opportunities like that in the future? Kind of a catch-22. So I would advise caution, use your own personal best sense of judgment. I'm pretty sure that if you go out and talk to a physician or a doctor or whatever else, most of them are probably going to err on the side of caution and say, maybe you should probably pass on that this year, because I've heard lots of refereeing like that through the ranks. So be careful in what you do. If you go, be safe. Omicron, again, it doesn't seem to be impacted by anybody doing anything unless you really got a surgical type of filter mask that you actually have fitted very, very well for your face. There's not a whole lot of PPE that you've got against this thing. It doesn't seem to observe any of the other rules as far as defenses go. So be cautious. Rob, we'll go to you next, then we'll talk about Tim for a moment. So Rob, you're up. Anything for the county training?
I do. We'll do a couple of training and administrative announcements. I will share screen now. And you can see that?
We can now.
Okay, very good. So the next informal outdoor activity day will be next Saturday morning. It'll start at 8 o'clock in the morning. Right now we have 6 locations lined up, same locations as last time we did an activity day. More are invited to organize and do something in their area if they'd like to. I know some people will visit one area. Maybe some people will hop around to check out a couple of different areas, go from one place to another. So they're lined up right now for Chula Vista, Tierra Santa, San Marcos, Fallbrook, Valley Center, El Centro. And most of the addresses will be the same as last time, is what I'm hearing. We'll put out the list later after the planners, the organizers for each area firm those up. I know that El Centro may be changing location a little bit, but I think the others are in Chula Vista. Fred was trying to decide which park to go to, last I heard. Fred, that's true?
Yep, I'm going to firm that up probably by tomorrow.
Okay, very good. So later this week, sometime next week, we'll put out an email like we did the last time, summarizing the locations of where everybody is going to be setting up. The plan is to start at 8 o'clock. Some of the locations are going to run just 2 hours. Some will run all the way to noon. So we look forward to getting out and socializing a little bit while socially distancing and seeing some technology on display. The VHF contest starts next Saturday in the middle of the day. So the official start time is at 11 a.m. And as before, we will do San Diego rally times. If you are able to join us anytime on the air, the rally times are every 3 hours, 3, 6 p.m., noonish. We'll send out the usual email describing the contest if you're new to the VHF contest. We'll give you the frequencies and the procedures. And this, the reason we push this is because the VHF contest is practice for a no repeater situation after the big one. So it's really good to know who can you talk to from your house to anywhere else in the area if no repeaters are available. So for example, I live in North City area, Rancho Penasquitos. I cannot talk to Chula Vista, but in a relay situation, I could maybe talk to somebody in Mira Mesa or Kearney Mesa, and they could relay down to Chula Vista. But it's good to know who you can and cannot talk to. So it officially begins at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and it actually runs overnight. Things really get pretty quiet on the air at night, and then it'll pick up a little bit for the people that are just going to play for a little bit on Sunday. So my own thing is to do my personal pop in and out during the day as I'm doing family things, turn the radio on for a little while, and then go back to doing family stuff. Keeping a log, all that information is going to be in an email that we will send out. Future ARES meetings, special presentations. For next month, the February meeting, we've tentatively lined up a Civil Air Patrol presentation. In some of the national presentations we've heard from disaster recovery response people, we are told that the Civil Air Patrol is active in their areas for disaster response. And so we'd like to learn a little bit more about the Civil Air Patrol, and we have a presentation tentatively lined up for the next ARES meeting. And then for the March meeting, Marty, AF5T, has agreed to give us a presentation on Parks on the Air. Marty is a Parks on the Air person, activating state and national parks around the Western US. And it's a good opportunity, training-wise, to be able to activate from a park, operating portable, and see how many people you can talk to around the country. I've tried it a little bit myself, and it is a lot of fun when you spot yourself. Spotting's allowed, and next thing you know, you have a pile up on the frequency. Everybody wants to talk to you. It's a very good experience. A reminder that the annual ARES membership verification has started, and we'll take it through the month. Many thanks to the 70 people who have verified so far. Just log in to the website, sdgares.net, and just by logging in, the database puts a timestamp on your profile, and we know you've logged in. So normally we have about 220 people verify each year. It takes a while. I know people don't do email all the time, and they don't log into websites that often sometimes. It takes a while. They may be on vacation now. So we'll get up to 200. So thanks for the people in the last week who have already logged in. A reminder about ARES documents. So we have the two websites. sdgares.net has the comp plan and the task book, and that's our membership roster baseline. And groups.io is where we use the service there for the email reflector. And we also have the San Diego ARES YouTube channel, where we post recorded meetings and training clips. And it's there for you. If you miss a meeting, you can always go back later. Training records, if you complete ICS training courses, please send the certificates, the PDF versions to me. And if you finish out any task book levels, also send off the signed page to me. And that's all I have. Thank you, Bruce, back to you.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions for Rob before we depart this particular section of the meeting? I know that was a lot of information.
Rob, this is Dennis, N1TEN.
Yes, sir.
Are you intending to do a comp plan update here at the beginning of the year?
Oh, yes. Thanks for the reminder on that. Yes. So every year we update the comp plan. We update the list of ECs. There are administrative changes, frequency changes, a lot of changes in the dozen or so pages. And so if anybody has any comp plan updates, send them to me. I will circulate a draft prior to going formal. We should go formal by the end of January. So send any changes to me and we'll get those out to everybody. Thank you, Dennis.
All right, thanks everyone. Sorry, were there additional questions?
Hey Bruce, Jay with a comment. So VHF contest, I didn't pay attention to these things. Heather pointed out that I was actually in the top 10. So, you know, as I've told people, I was there to noodle around and surprise myself by judiciously applying in the right category. So, you know, a wise man once told me to read the rules, pay attention to them, and see what you can do for bonus points. And who knows, you might end up in the publication yourself. So play around with the VHF contest. It's a good time. That's it. Just to encourage people to play.
From the man who refused to speak into a microphone.
Indeed. Indeed. Things change. We grow, we change, things change.
The evolution of ham radio always delights me. It really does. And people using it. Thanks, Jay. On my side, Rob covered almost every topic that I could possibly think of, as did Dave. The only other thing that I can think of that's relevant for us right now in the moment is operationally, we haven't had any changes from meeting perspectives. This has been the standard announcement for the last couple of months. You know, everybody was hoping that 2022 would be different. The County of San Diego extended their mask wearing mandates for another 30 days. The hospital systems have effectively braced for impact to have high populations of people sick, not necessarily hospitalized, but high patient volumes because of Omicron specifically. And they're expecting that to peak anywhere between right now and the end of January. And they're hoping that by the end of January, we're going to see a decline, but they're also forecasting that that decline may not start until the beginning of March. That seems to be the current information. It's just going to be a matter of how quickly this rolls through, you know, folks that are out there able to get it and have gotten it and moved on from it, one way or the other. The Omicron stuff has been very interesting, but like I said, from the only positive spin that I can put on it is once you've been down the Omicron pathway, if you've not ever had COVID before and you're immunized, you've got probably the best coverage that they think you could have. You're going to have a good combination of natural immunity that covers you with Delta, and then you've got the overlapping protection from the vaccines if you're going down that path. So don't look at Omicron as being a horrible, terrible, very bad thing. If you get it, look at it as being good. Check the box, move on, get down the road, and it's a good thing, and it's beyond you or behind you. So we're hoping that maybe by middle of the year, we'll go out and get some information about when things might be back to normal and can get back to a regular meeting format. But I got to be honest, even in my organization, the discussions are very active that it's probably not going to even be looked at until next year, 2023. They're already looking that far down the road. The only other item that I've got was related to a very lofty goal that I had that I failed miserably at, and I'll fall on my own sword for this. We had talked for a long time about trying to distribute and redistribute some of the ARES related donations to the group. We even have information on items that we've collected from families that were going to be hopefully sold to the ARES group, maybe the general ham radio population out there. But all of the proceeds for those, in a couple of cases, we're going to go back directly to the families, not to ARES. And I was hoping to have had that by the Black Friday window last year. And I realized candidly, although I have some of that equipment at my home because I was testing it, cleaning it up, going through it and doing things with it, that a lot of that stuff really was actually in storage. And just like we've had our swap meets at HRO that have stopped over the last couple of years and things like that, I need to go pull a lot of that stuff because I just don't have, honestly, I just don't have pictures of the stuff. I don't have photos of the stuff. I've got good descriptions for the most part, but it would be a heck of a long Excel spreadsheet to go out and just publish and hang a price on with not a whole lot of other information. So I've been doing little bits and pieces about that over the last weekends and trying to go out and get caught up with some of those. Dave was able to supply some pictures that we had taken at some of the previous gatherings for it. So we're starting to compile more of that. And I think it'll end up being more of an online resource on the website by the time we're done. People can go out and look at stuff, actually see a photo of what it is. Would be a price tag with comments on it, et cetera. And then we can work whatever needs to be done there to go out and look at something. If somebody wants to go out and buy it, we'll make 3 arrangements, things like that. So that's still kind of a work in progress. Yeah, it's amazing that I can go out and put together a field day and have, 10 towers there and 12 Yagi antennas and have the biggest field day setups in some of the original and even maybe some of the actual park days that happen with all the towers and things. It's amazing I can go out and pull that kind of stuff off and, have giant field day setups and get it all done the day before, get it all, wrapped up and put away the day it ends. And I go out and have to sell stuff. And now I'm having to think eBay. It's like pictures, photos, descriptions. Oh my. Bad guess on my part. So I apologize for that. That'll still be coming and we'll get that taken care of and hopefully maybe the next month or so. And I know a couple of folks have asked for pieces of equipment. John, if you're on CPO, yes, we have green gear and I have the pieces that you need. I need to pull them out of storage. I'll be talking to you offline about that. I don't have anything else specifically. We'll talk about the purpose for the breakout rooms and the roundtable in just a moment, since that's the function of today's meeting. But first, let's go to Silent Key for a second. honestly, I've known Tim for a long time through various organizations, and this would be N6CUX. And I was never someone that was really close to him. However, I just, he was one of those guys that just seemed to be in everywhere, in every place. He was a very active participant from what I knew in several clubs. He was always an active volunteer to go out and help people out and help the clubs and the organizations out, including ARES, in a lot of endeavors. And he just seemed to really, really embody the passion that a lot of folks in amateur radio have. I honestly don't have any background on what he did, where his family is, or anything like that. And the guy was just, like I said, when he was not encumbered by illness recently, he just seemed to always be around to be able to help and do things and be part of the group that was doing something, whether it was a demo, whether it was a drill, whether it was a field day event or something like that. So I'd like to take at least a couple of minutes and open the floor to anyone that might have some feedback, some comments, might have had more personal interactions with him from a club or an activity level, and at least, give him a nice verbal send off for most of us anyway, since we're doing this remotely. I don't know who else to ask at this point. Jay, Mr. Rollins, maybe you could start if you're willing to do that.
Certainly. I met Tim because he was one of our assistant net controls when I took over for Dennis. And like a lot of people in the ham radio world, I probably talked to him for 6 months before I met him. I think I met him at my first Ham Fest. And kind of like was mentioned, I just remember him being omnipresent. He assisted us with our stuff here in Imperial County, and he had been a force to be reckoned with when it came to the Easter earthquake back in 2010. So he had an open invitation here in Imperial County to participate and assist, and he always did. And I know from listening to him that he had a presence with the Lakeside Amateur Radio Club there, who I have a soft spot for because that's who tested me for my technician's license. He will be missed, and we've monitored his declining health along the way, and we're buoyed up when he come back on the air, but we're very sad at his passing.
Thank you, Shay. Appreciate it. Anyone else?
I can probably throw something else out there. Several years ago, Tim was supposed to be out on the PCT 50 race there, and he was a little under the weather, and he thought maybe he wouldn't be able to make it. And I was talking to him that evening about, since he had worked that before, and I was asking him some questions and everything, and he helped out. And then he called me about 11 o'clock at night, and he says, "Hey, I really think you need some help out there." And implied in his statement was, "I don't think you know what you're doing." And even though he wasn't feeling well, 6 o'clock the next morning, Tim showed up out there, and he helped out. He kept us going down the right path, and you could tell he wasn't well, and he spent most of the time sitting there, just keeping us going straight. And I can only speak very highly of a guy that would do that, being under the weather and showing up out there 6 in the morning after getting in touch with me 11 o'clock at night, that he would be there because you guys need help. That's all I have.
Hear, hear. Thanks, Gary. Anyone else?
N1TEN.
Dennis.
Yeah, just wanted to share a story that Tim was amongst the very first team members that I worked with on hospital drills. And we set up, I think the first time on the loading dock of Children's Hospital. And Tim being Tim, basically brought his entire shack with him that day. And so we had printers, we had monitors, we had radios, we had big antennas, and we had the whole shooting match going on there on the loading dock of Children's Hospital. And as he always did, he performed well and made sure that we were able to really contribute to that particular hospital drill. And of course, he participated subsequently up there as well in 1TE.
Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate it. Judy? Judy, you're on mute.
Yeah, I had a comment previously about the COVID, but so I'll pass.
I'm so sorry. Very good. Anyone else? All right, I'm not seeing any hands up. I'm going to ask for a moment of silence, and I would also ask after the meeting if anybody has any contact information for any of Tim's family or anything like that. I would like to, as a group, at least send something to contribute to the memorial and express our emotions about his loss to the group and to the community. All right, moment of silence, please. All right. Thank you all for that. Appreciate the folks that were able to talk about efforts and little stories. I'm sure there's a lot of us out there that have them. He was just in so many facets of the community. It would be hard not to have a story or two, or at least a time or two where you can smile and look back at the memory. I appreciate everybody thinking about that, even if you didn't pop up and say something. It's all right, I understand. Judy, before I move on, say hi to your kitty behind you.
Oh.
But also,
yeah.
Please do, if you have any comments regarding COVID, this would be a good time.
Yeah. The only thing is just because you have it once, any of the species, doesn't mean you can't have it again. So if you've had Omicron, you can get that again, and you can get any of the other ones. So I canceled 2 international trips in the next month because it's just not worth the risk. Yeah, spot on. Thank you. All right, folks. If we don't have any other regular business, we will move on to the EC breakout rooms and the EC roundtable portion. So what I want to do as a goal, and this is again something we did 3 years ago at this time of year for the first time in real life, I broke everybody up in a large auditorium and said, where are the ECs? And I broke people up that were sitting next to each other, and I pulled people apart, and I said, folks, find your ECs that are in your neighborhood that are responsible for you. So that was actually an exercise in itself, which was kind of cool. People were like, I don't know who that would be. Everybody knows who each other is on the radio. Some people did know, some people did not know. And a lot of people that were new were watching the whole process evolve. So this was kind of cool. The goal would be that folks will be breaking off into rooms in Zoom with their EC or DEC. We want to have you talk about your current capabilities, what things have changed, whether you've got new members or not. And of course, the real goal is that you guys get to know and gals get to know each other and be familiar with each other. So in case something happens, this is like your first level of community support, taking care of yourself, your family, your neighborhood, and then your region that your EC and you are in. And that's your first thing that we want you to be able to go out and do. The EC should be able to go out and talk to each other, which we try to drill on when we have things like the VHF event and some of the other practice drills. We want to make sure that, folks know where they can talk to, they map out their own exercises, they have their own drill schedules, if that's what they'd like to do. And effectively, we'd like you to come back after you've had some time in the breakout rooms toward the end of the meeting and have the ECs do a quick summary of any new ideas, any new thoughts about what we can do for communications in the neighborhood, how we're going to accomplish certain types of communications, tactical or otherwise, how we can provide support for our local communities and regions. And again, as mentioned, San Diego and Imperial are right next to each other, but in some manners and some instances are very, very dramatically different in the kinds of support and the types of expectations the region has for those different groups. And let's talk about how we can improve what we're doing with the community at the end. So if Dave is ready and the breakout rooms might be loaded up and ready,
they are all loaded up. They are all loaded up and ready, and you should be able to pick your own room. So we'll see how that works this time. If you go to the little more button at the bottom, it should list breakout rooms, and you should be able to choose your own.
Question? Bruce, did you have any expectation about roughly how long the breakout rooms would go and then we would come back and chat together again?
Breakout rooms right now, they're set for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say usually a half an hour to kick it off. If you are engaged in a lively and active discussion, I would encourage you to stay with that, but let us know or message us back that you're still engaged in a lively and active discussion. And we can let you guys carry on or let the folks in that particular room carry on and come back in a little bit. So we can push the window if it needs to be pushed.
Ted, you had your hand up?
Yeah, thanks. Quick question about the field day, if that's what it's called, next week on the 15th, Saturday, out at the parks, versus the ARRL VHF contest. Are those going to be running together in any manner?
This is Rob. So they're kind of a little bit separate. So the VHF contest does not start until 11 o'clock. So some people will do 2 or 3 hours of the first event and then roll over to the second. And the VHF contest goes on for more than 24 hours. So you can, play the VHF when you want to.
Yeah, I just wondered if some people might be starting out at those events. Thank you.
This is K6IBP. I have a question.
Go ahead, Curtis.
Good morning. So where is the more button? I don't see I'm not seeing anything about breakout rooms on my
I have
screen.
the same question. I can't find it either.
I don't think, Dave, you set up the breakout rooms.
Dave, did you pull the trigger yet?
Boom.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
There they are. Now they're all open and you should be able to pick your room.
So we're coming up at the top of the hour. Let's say off to the races. Let's say bottom of the hour, 9:30. That's 40 minutes. If you come back early, it's okay. We can talk about things if you come back early while we're waiting for the rest of the folks. But let's make it a cap at 9:30 if that sounds all right.
Looks like people are peeling out to the rooms already. This is good.
And I'm going to go to East County because I don't see any other Imperial County folks here.
Thanks, Jay.
Bruce, any suggestion on where you want me to go? Be polite.
I don't think you want to answer to that question.
Well, what neighborhood are you really in, Jay?
Well, you can go to Mira Mesa.
I can go to Mira Mesa or Tierra Santa. They're probably the closest ones.
Say hello to Munir in Mira Mesa.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on Munir. That way when he plays the recording back, he knows I've said, let's keep an eye on Munir.
Nice. All right. Good that we didn't have to assign everybody to rooms this time.
Yes.
Finally found the right button.
Yeah, congratulations. This window is being difficult. Well, let me resize the breakout room window.
I'm going to pop over to the Penasquitas group.
Good. There we go. Scripps Ranch has 0, so yeah, I'm gonna go to Mira Mesa.